North Carolina is beautiful, but Caswell County is the county that I grew up in. It's one of the poorest counties in the country. It has a lot of deep-rooted racial tension. Even to this day is one of the highest active Ku Klux Klan activity in the country. My biological grandfather was a sharecropper, and my uncles grew up on that farm. When you couple all those things together, it creates a lot of dynamics where people get traumatized and it goes unresolved and unaddressed. You start hearing people around you kind of echoing the same hate that they've received from white people around us. You hear it being echoed in our houses, and like they're this way, they're that way. It gets reiterated and recycled in your day-to-day life, in your house, in school. It's just all of it, you know. And it informed how I felt like I was supposed to behave here, so I just started hating back. I've literally seen the Ku Klux Klan march up and down Main Street, the most busy street of the town, multiple times. And I've seen the pain and the anger from the people. While it's happening, I'm watching my aunts, I'm watching my mother, I'm watching all of them just feeling so much pain, so much anger, and it's in me. It's, you know, it's affecting me, you know, and it just makes you more angry. It makes you more angry, and it justifies every negative thought that you have. And you think that you can make these sweeping statements about all white people that actually make sense, and it just doesn't. It just doesn't make sense, because one of the earliest memories that I have in my childhood was in preschool at Graves Chapel Church. Miss Mueller was one of the teachers there as a white lady. And I remember her holding me in her lap while she did story time and feeling her love for me. And then there's other examples of white people who took interest in me genuinely, just and tried to open doors for me. And when you have this narrative that you're just recycling in your head over and over and over, you ignore the good stuff and you only center the bad. And that's where your narrative gets buttressed with not any outlier. The outliers don't matter at all. It's just the narrative. Everything that supports the narrative is the only thing I can see. So it becomes a thing where every part of your life just confirms what it is that you want to believe. You don't feel that there's any way that you could be wrong about it. The disparity is real. If the disparity is real, they are doing it. And that day became so powerful of a boogeyman. My nervous system was always on edge. I'm always ready to fight. I'm always ready for war. Hypertension is a given. It's a given when you always operating in an energy where you're waiting for him to say something offensive so that you can explode 400 years of rage on this person, you know. It's so painful to be in that space all the time. I didn't get to experience anything that made me happy. I was miserable. There was no tunnel, there was no anything. I quickly became aware of what people call the light. It was up and to the right of me. The emergency room was down and to the left of me. And I was in that angle looking forward out into space. And what was in front of me was the star-forming region. What was beneath me was what people call the void. I felt like I was in the blackness and it was enveloping me like velvet. It felt like love. It felt like every other aspect of being disembodied in that moment for me. Everything felt like love. I felt like love. I felt like the system that I found myself in was just love and I was just a part of it. But it also felt like it was everything. It felt like everything, every possibility, every past experience, everything was in the void, was in that black space. When I looked into it, it reacted, it responded. And if there was any kind of thought that wasn't complete, it was complete instantly. If there was a notion of missing something, that the satisfaction of having that, I felt it already. Before the missing was even fully felt, the satisfaction of already having that was there. In that state, I understood everything. The pain, the confusion, the identity stuff was gone. We are all orbs of light. We're not these bodies. I experienced the orb of light as being perfect, as being not confused, as not being contextualized in a human sense in a way where it's going to cheerlead for one side or the other. It was disconnected somewhat from the specifics of the human experience. It was just aware. You were in that body. That body's dead. It wasn't like, you were a black activist and you need to go back and hop in that body and get to the fight. No more fighting. That fight stuff was done. I looked down and I saw this rubber pad. The defibrillator pads were in the person's hand, like they were about to defibrillate me again. But I saw this rubber pad on my chest where the indention from the defibrillator pads were. And when I looked down, I was like, oh, you really were dead. Like, that's when it all flooded into my mind and my human awareness. Because, like, I saw the pad where they were defibrillating me, and I saw them defibrillating me from above, and it all connected in that moment when I looked down and he asked me, you didn't feel that? And I was like, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything. The heaviness and the anger and the hate, I'm not carrying that around me anymore. So received differently. I have more graceful interactions with people. I don't feel like there's somebody trying to block my progress. None of that stuff is real. None of those stories are in me influencing the outcome. What having that experience does to you is it gives you this extremely radical sense of accountability all the way down to the thoughts that you've had. Sometimes we think that because we didn't actually say something, that we still have a position of just like we feel righteous. I didn't call you that, but you thought it. So if you thought it, own that. You gotta own that thought. You gotta own that thought because that thought contributed to the tension that was created in that moment. So we have to learn how to understand what we're doing and what we're choosing. Don't allow tension and pain and confusion to persist for too long because it'll hurt you and it'll influence your perspective of reality in a way that's not. It'll give you a bias. So when you feel it, fix it so that the bias doesn't sit in you so long to where it's part of you and now it's hard to get it out of you. What my experience showed me is that we tend to become the emotions versus just feeling them and letting them pass. It's like I became hate. Instead of just saying, oh, damn, that was hateful. Do I want to respond in kind of, we don't pause and be like, and think about the impact of feeling hate on your physical being. Was it personal? Is this person just a miserable person? Do I have to internalize what they're saying? Do I have to? No. But when you're already on edge and you already have these biases, you're ready. You're ready to jump. As soon as the invitation is presented to you, you're ready to respond to it. You may very well be justified in your anger, and you're definitely going to feel justified in your anger, right? But my anger killed me. So if I was able to see what I was in a different way, instead of responding to it with anger, responding to it with responsibility, responding to it with hope, I can help change that versus using all of that energy on just hating the people who I feel are creating the dynamic. The further removed I am from feeling all of that pain for so long, damaged my body, made me so sick because of how I'm thinking. And the only way I was able to shake the connection to those stories and those narratives is through having that reset, and having those narratives kind of shook off of me. My experience occurred in such a way that it gave me some different kind of clarity. And there is an opportunity for me to move forward differently, period. Now, if I don't take that opportunity, that's a choice that I make, but the opportunity exists. You will revisit the same things that led to your death. And I do. I revisit the same frustration. I revisit the same, sometimes, moments of hopelessness. But now I just like, am I going to choose to stay in that emotion? Am I going to become hopelessness? Am I going to become frustration? Am I going to become hate? No, I'm going to process it, let it do what it's going to do in that moment, and then leave it alone, let it go, and move on to the next thought, the next choice. We just having an experience here, and because of the narratives and the stories that we choose, it becomes a negative experience, a positive experience, but it's all just stories, and you don't have to choose those stories. You come here already equipped with how to function here, and then we're not taught to honor that in any way whatsoever. We're taught who to be, what we are, what our name is, how we, what's important, who we're supposed to like, who we're supposed to hate, how we're supposed to, we're told all of this stuff. And then we expect people to develop into authentic human beings when they've never made a decision for themselves at all. They just accepted prepackaged identities. There's no choice in that you're just selecting from among what's not even available to you, but it's actually what's pushed on you by people who actually love you. They're giving you this advice because they love you. They're telling you to think this way because they think it worked for them, and I just want you to, be okay, but it doesn't work. Look at the world around us. This thinking and these orientations that we have towards each other and this planet and this life doesn't work. It doesn't work. The more clear I have become about what being a human being is, the mind, the body, the ego, and this soul thing, that is infinite and it leaves this place is perfect. It doesn't hold on to human trauma. It doesn't hold on to this stuff. It doesn't. But it's permanent, and it's what you leave here as. That's what you are. If you focus on misery, you're compounding misery. If you focus on hope, you're increasing the probability that other things can happen outside of the negative possibilities. And if we collectively start understanding how to galvanize our attention in different ways, then we can magnify our creative capacity. If an individual can focus their attention on what they want and get it, imagine if 20,000, 30,000, a million individuals can focus their attention on unified and what they can create.